Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and happy Tu B'Shvat. Yes, it is the new year of trees. Tu B'Shvat. What does Tu B'Shvat mean? I think we talked about this last week. Tu, of course, are the two Hebrew letters, 9 and 6, that add up to 15. So it's the 15th day of the month of Shabbat, which started last week. So we don't use Yud, which is 10, and Hey, which is 5, because then you'd have the word Yah, which is God, and then you're using God in vain, so we use 9 and 6 instead. So in honor of the new year for trees, we will be having a little Seder in the school on Sunday. That's this Sunday, from your point of view, the 20th, at the school about 10:30. And, Tu B'Shvat is really kind of a blip on the map. Now, Tu B'Shvat is there because it's the new year for trees. Why do we need a new year for trees? Because when you plant a tree, the tree stays fallow, if you will. It stays benign, or it just says plain. It just stays there static for 3 years before you can start harvesting the fruit. And in the 4th year, the fruit goes as an offering to the Kohanim and the Levites, who ministered to the temple. So how do you figure it out? Well, I guess you could do it by the day that it's planted, but they figured, okay, let's just kind of institutionalize it, make it just one date for everybody. And the only place really that it's mentioned is in the Talmud on the tractate of Rosh, which is Rosh Hashanah, New Year. And that tractate starts off talking about the 4 New Years. And it talks about trees. Now, the house of Shammai wanted it to be the 1st of Shabbat. The house of Hillel wanted it to be the 15th. As usual, Hillel wins out, so it's the 15th of Shabbat. What are the other 3 New Years? Well, we actually have one for animals. Same thing, the firstborn of the animals. That's the month of Elul. And that's the month before Tishrei. So we've got the 1st of Tishrei, which we all know is Rosh Hashanah. It's the beginning of the spiritual new year when we change the year. And the month prior to that, and the 30th, is the month of the first animals, and that's how the age of the animals for reckoning for the tithe comes in. Now, the other new year, the final new year, is one that kind of is part of our Torah portion. Oh, and by the way, did I happen to mention this is Rabbi Stephen Epstein, Rashbi with my 10-minute Torah? See, I want to get into it, so I just kind of got a little ahead of myself. We just had a general meeting, and very excited. It was very productive, and going forward, we're going to really do something with this synagogue. Make it great. Make B'nai Chaim great again. We'll have hats and everything, initials, in English, Hebrew, and then in transliteration. How's that, right? Okay, so what do we have going on in the Torah? We've got the portion of Beshalach. And this is where Moses takes the brood, all 2.5 million of them, out of Egypt. Now you might be saying, well, gee, Rabbi, I thought it said 600,000 people, 600,000 men, ages 20 to 50. If you add their wives, the kids, people outside of that age range, and also there was a rabble of Egyptians that came with them too, some criminals and, undercurrent that thought, this is my chance to escape. And by the way, these were some of the people that wanted to go back to the paganism and kind of encouraged people to do that golden calf, because that's what they were used to. So 2.5 million people are leaving, and they left on the 1st of Nisan. So the 1st of Nisan is really the new year for our people. Now, as opposed to Rosh Hashanah, which is the spiritual new year, the 1st of Nisan is actually the secular new year. And of course, what do we have 15 days later on the 15th of Nisan? We have Passover. So that's the beginning of the secular new year. It has to do with contracts, kings ascending the throne, that type of thing. And I had a very interesting question during services last week, which was, why is this here now? Isn't Passover in the spring, a Hag HaAviv, a holiday in the spring? Why are we talking about this now? Because the flow of the Torah is different than the flow throughout the year. And guess what? When we come to Passover, guess what we're going to be reading? That's right. It's special portions that have to do with this whole, plagues and leaving Egypt. And also it has to do with the Pesach sacrifice that we talked about last week. Cook the animal and finish it and nothing's left. If you can't do it by yourself, invite another family along, have a party. I don't know what they did back then, but anyway. So Moses is leading the rabble, leading the 2.5 million people out of Egypt, and they come to what? A big puddle called the Sea of Reeds, which you know as the Red Sea. I don't know why they took the extra E out. I don't know what's red about it. Maybe there's some coral, I think, in the bottom that makes it look a little red. But it's the Sea of Reeds. And they brought them, and Hashem told Moses to come along kind of a southern route because he didn't want them encountering the Philistines in Gaza. Now, who are the Philistines? They're actually a piratic people. They were pirates. Gaza's on the Mediterranean coast there, and that's what they would do. They would go out and they'd go after, ships and things and steal their goods. That's who they were. And Hashem figured, well, these people have been slaves for, a history of being slaves for over 100 years. And they don't really have the backbone or the wherewithal. They don't have the mindset really to go fight. It's a little too much for them. So we'll bring them along the southern route. Also, that's another way, think about it, to put enough time distance between them and Egypt, lest they turn around and say, oh, this is the desert, it's inhospitable, we want to go back home, to Egypt. And by the way, that does happen. Meanwhile, Pharaoh, being who he was, after the 10 plagues, the guy still didn't learn his lesson. He's like, oh, these people left. Where's my servants? Where's my slaves? And some people say, well, wait a minute. I thought you said they worked them to kill them off, to break their back. Yes, but there was some productivity there too. The ultimate goal was to kill the Israelites off as a people. But ultimately they said, we got manpower. Why do we want to waste that? Let's at least use what we have, right? So Pharaoh just kind of wakes up and the bitterness, the trauma of the plagues is now kind of behind him. And he's like, I just let go 2 million people, let's get him back. Pharaoh actually saddled his own chariot. Now, in the movie The Ten Commandments, you see Yul Brynner walk out there with his, shaved head, and he gets there, and they put the armor and the helmet, and he stands there very regal-like and gets on his chariot. Pharaoh was so intent on going after the Israelites to get his due, to have his vindication, that he jumped on it himself. He put all the armor on, saddled his horse, got his chariot, got his best warriors, his best charioteers and archers, basically the special forces, and said, let's go get him. So the Israelites are coming in, they're in front of the Sea of Reeds, and okay, and they turn around, and in the distance they can see this army coming after them, and they're like, oh, why did we leave Egypt? What are we going to do? We're going to be killed. Why did you bring us out here to be killed? And meanwhile, they forgot that, at night there was a pillar of fire, and during the day there was a cloud that was covering them. Okay, it had only been a few days, but there they were. So what happens? The pillar of fire and the pillar of cloud go in front of Pharaoh, holds him off, and God says, don't worry, I will deliver you through the sea. So here's what happened. People say, well, what did Moses raise the staff and the seas parted? Actually, before that happened, Nachshon ben Aminadab, the prince of the tribe of Judah, walked into the Sea of Reeds. When the water got up to his chest, and this is what Hashem was working on. Who's the tribe left? Judah, right? So the prince of Judah, and that's Nase of Judah, walks into the Sea of Reeds up to his chest, then the waters part. And by the way, the waters didn't just part. What happened to the ground? It got hard, right? You start walking through, you got mud, you got watery dirt, right? It's like quicksand. So it got hard. They walked through. The pillar and the fire stemmed the Egyptians. Israelites went through. And you think that people are like, oh, wow, we're not messing with, they got a God that does that. We're done. We're turning around. There's no way we're going to win this. Pharaoh's like, go get them. And they went into the sea. They obeyed their orders. They went into the sea, and wham, closed right over them. And some of the bodies washed on the other shore, on the other side of the Sea of Reeds, to show the Israelites, see, your problems are over. So we think. Stay tuned. Pharaoh was kind of, once again, the only one left alive to go back and tell the tale. And it is said that Pharaoh never died. He now stands on the edge of Gehinnom, of purgatory, of hell. Yes, we believe in hell. Subject for another time. And when tyrants come down, he's like, didn't you learn from me? Apparently they didn't. So, now the Israelites are on the other side. They saw this wonders, this miracles. Pharaoh is broken. Egypt is shattered. And what do? Did they show gratitude? No. Now it begins. We're thirsty. Where's water? God's like, Moses, take this tree, throw it in the water, and throw this in the water, and the water will be purified. And I guess they didn't have Brita or Arrowhead back then, right? And the people were drinking. Oh, now we're hungry. Okay, all of a sudden you got the quails. Okay? These people, here's the problem, folks. These people have been slaves, and we've talked about this before for over 100 years. They had the mindset of a slave. They didn't have the backbone, the courage, the conviction to go out and wage war. And this becomes apparent as we go on with all the murmurings, with all the rebellion against Moshe. And when somebody came in and said, Moses is a lousy leader, I can do it like Korach does, and later on in the book of Numbers, people were ready to do it. They did just easy. They weren't ready to go in. It's unfortunate, but they were doomed. So we'll talk about that as we go on. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody. Okay, like I said, there was a time when Saturday morning services was, 4 or 5 people, and we have that. But now that the holidays are over, now that school's over, we're starting to see more and more people. We're having minions for Saturday morning. I love you. I love you all. We're having minions for Friday night. Did something creative last time. Thank you so much, and thank you for being who you are. We're gonna really take something, and we're gonna do something with the synagogue. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, any ideas, and thanks again. Thanks for listening.